Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to our Amud Yom Shir. We are in Perek B'Mem Adlikin at the end of Daf Chaf Amud Beis. Chaf Amud Beis in the bottom of the page. We are learning about different types of oils and wicks that should not be used in Shabbos. So, and the reason is, the Gemara is actually going to say the reason today, so no reason for me to mention it. Shir Latzlochas, Klal Yisrael, Shiduch for Ahuva Shir Libet. Zefes, veloy bezefes, four lines from the bottom of the page, veloy bezefes, yeah? So we said in the Mishnah, we are starting to mention, to enumerate the shmanim, the second group of items one should not use on Shabbos for the candles are the oils. We're now going to talk about the oils. We've spoken yesterday about the wicks. Now we're talking about the oils. And it says, "V'lo bezefes." We quote the Mishnah and we translate. Zefes is zifta. Zefes means basically tar. You can't take a ball of tar. You just can't just scrape off some tar and put it in the lantern, in the Aladdin's lamp, right next to the wick, right? Because it's not going to catch nicely. It doesn't flow into the wick. Shaiva kirusa. Shaiva is kiruta. It's shaiva is wax. Yeah, you're not allowed to use a piece of wax and just dunk it there. It's not going to really be absorbed, and it's not going to light nicely. Tana. Now comes the brisa and tells us, Adkan psul psilois. Up until Zefes and Shava, we spoke about the psul of psilois. What's psul psilois? The wicks that are not kosher were mentioned up until now. Mikan ve'elach psul shmonim. From Zefes and Shava, it's psul shmonim. It's a psul of the disqualified oils. And the Gemara asks the question, Pshita, of course. What do you mean? Obviously, we know that these are wicks and these are the oils. Why do I need a brisa to tell me that? Answers the Gemara, there's something that's coming to teach me. Shaive itzricha le. What does it mean? The case of wax, you have to know where does that belong to the wax, to the wicks or the oils. What do you mean? Mal detema, one would argue, one would say, lepsilos nami lo chazia. One could argue and say, wait a second, maybe the wax, if the wax is so bad as oil, maybe the wax is not good as a wick. What do you mean? How can wax be a wick? Says Rashi, hey, it's talking about our candles. Our candles, what are our candles really? Think about it. The most important part of our candles is the wick. It's a wick coated on all sides with wax. So you can really call it a wax wick. It's a wick that's coated with, wafer coated with chocolate, yeah. So you have the wick coated with wax. And one could argue and say, well, if you trafed up, if you said that this wick is bad, is a puzzle, maybe it's puzzle here too. Says Rashi, Kmo shanu oisin. Maybe our candles are treif. Maybe our candles are not good for Shabbos. Kamash malan, no. That the only issue with Shava is only when it serves you as a separate piece inside the lantern, inside that bowl next to the wick, then it's not good. It doesn't catch nicely. Not a good shidduch. It does, but not so well. Mashenken, when Lamaisa, it burns nicely like a candle, then it's okay. And we didn't completely outdo it. Believe it or not, there's a very famous Tosfos here. It's mentioned, it's a Stipler, a lot of lomdus over here. I remember actually, I had some old Iyun Shtikl Torah. Maybe I'll email you if I have time. But I won't go into details. There is a Shita here in Tosfos of Bnei Narvoino, Bnei Narbono, I don't know, somewhere in France probably. And they hold the tree, Narbonne, there's a place, Narbonne, oh, you see? So basically, they said that our candles are also to use in Shabbos. They say Nechinami, yeah. They say, when you can use the wick, you can only use something that's similar to our candle if you use it as the wick inside a lamp with oil. And then it's okay. Yes, because then it's a psila of, who's pulling out the oil from the lantern, from the bowl. But if you only use that by itself, then it would be treif. That would be possible. That's what they hold. Because it's not psila. It's really the shemen. It's feeding on the wax. How come you have flame all the time in the candle? Because it keeps eating from the wax or the paraffin today. So they hold it's not good. Tosis has a question. The Achronim have an answer. I had an answer. That's not for now, but you should know there is a shita not to use candles, but that's okay. I mean, it's more mehuder to use olive oil, that's for sure, and I do the same. But lamaisa, you're allowed to use candles, regular candles like many Jews do, like Rashi. Weiter. Rami Bar Abin. Now, Rami Bar Abin is coming to tell us more. It seems if he's saying translations, but he says much more than that. And he says, Itrana, what's an Itran? Itran is going to be mentioned also, is mentioned in the Mishnah. Yeah, it says, actually not in this Mishnah, in the next Mishnah, Itran is mentioned, right? And the Itran is something that smells really, really bad. Yeah. Itran is psulta de zifta. In other words, the tar, some kind of tar, comes out of a tree. I think some comes from the ground, some it comes out of the tree. And after the good part comes out, after the good part is being extracted, the worst part, the bad part, is called itran. The Gemara will say later that it smells really bad. It's like a garbagey kind of substance that comes out of the tree. And really, itran is the psoilus, the refuse of the zephes, of the tar, and shava psulta de duvsha. The wax is really the leftover, the refuse of the honey. Yeah, wax comes from the beehive. So now, the Gemara, I'm inserting Tosfos now. The Gemara knew that we know what's itran and what's shava. So why do you have to tell me all these details that that's a garbage of this and that's the refuse of that? Oh, the nafkamina is nothing to do with hadlokas neros. Nafkamina is that if your friend tells you, I'm selling you Itran, and there are different levels of Itran, but the Itran that he sells you is a low class, the end of the substance of the tree, that too is okay and is allowed to sell you that. It still falls under the category of Itran, and the same thing with Shava. There's a high level Shava, and there's a Shava which is just the refuse, the leftover of the beehive. That too falls under Shava. So if we do business, according to Halacha, it still falls under that. Beforehand, we didn't know the translation of Lechesh and Choisen and Kalach. Here we know the translation, so why do you have to mention more details? To tell me that halachically, if you sell this kind of item, you can still sell the garbagey kind, and it's still called Itran, it's still called Shava, and unless you specified otherwise, it's a sale. A bit of Choshen Mishpat in the middle of Shabbos, yeah. No, bono. Here comes another piece of news. Kol elu sha'omru ein madlikin ben Shabbos. All these items, we assume that it talks about both wicks and oils, yeah, that are not allowed to be used for Shabbos candles, or I would say candles on Shabbos. Avarisin man medura. One is allowed to create medura. What's a medura? A bonfire, fire. You're allowed to take, a big fire that contains a few sticks together. Those you can use, because although it flickers, who cares it flickers? That's why medura is, right? Because one lights the other. Between all of them, they're going to be well lit, right? If it's one, it keeps flickering. L'shenken, all of them together, they're all mechazik each other, they'll have one nice fire. So the chiddush is ben lischamim kenegda, whether the medura is in order to warm yourself up against the medura, ben lishtamish le'oira, even for light. It's a bigger chiddush. Even though it's for the light, you're not going to stoke it, because that's the way it is. Big fire, yeah, you can read by the light of the big fire, even if it goes a little bit, it's a bit shaky, flamey. Ben al gav karka, ben al gave kira. Yeah, whether it's on the floor or kira, there's the gears of the grow, the menorah. Either it's on the floor or menorah, says the Goyen. Again, menorah, use it for the light. The Rishonim here don't really go so much into details. The only thing you're not allowed to do is one psila, because one psila, one wick, is standing alone. It's very thin, very lonely. And if it doesn't have other psilos, other substances, the fire alone will not catch nicely. Veloy b'shem and kik. We continue to translate and explain the different terms of the Mishnah. Veloy b'shem and kik. What's shem and kik? My shem and kik, I think we have three explanations. What shem and kik? Amar Shmuel, sha'altina l'kol nechusei yama. I asked all the people who go, as Shmuel said before, remember? Yeah, I asked, Shmuel already mentioned that, yeah, l'kol nechusei yama. I asked the people who go at sea, the sailors that go far away. And what did they tell me? They told me, Oif echad yesh bekar chayam bekik shmoy. Yeah, there's a bird. There's a kind of bird which lives there, in the other side of the world. And that oif, the fat of this oil, you put in the candle and it lights, but it doesn't light nicely. Yeah, it's the actual fat. You shecht that bird, and from the fat of that bird, you make oil. But the oil is, like a gala, like it's not really. As we're going to talk about animal fat a lot later. Yeah, the fat from that bird doesn't stim nicely. It lights, but not first class. Rav Yitzchak Breder of Yehuda Omar Mishcha de Kaza. Mishcha de Kaza is cotton seed oil. The oil we make from the seeds of the cotton. There's such a thing today too, cotton seed oil. So the cotton seed oil, Yeshem and Kutna, lights, but nishtazoi, not a grosse glick, and therefore it doesn't go well and you don't light. Reish Lakish Omar, Kikoyon de Yoino. Oh, Yoino, remember Yom Kippur? Yom Kippur in the afternoon? Kikoyon de Yoino, you have the oil that comes out of the Kikoyon de Yoino, of the tree, of that shrub, that tree, section of the shrub. It's a big tree we're going to see. Yeah, we'll see soon. And the Kikoyon de Yoino, from its oil that they make oil, from its leaves. Yeah, they make, not from the leaves, we're going to see soon. They make from its seeds, they make oil. And if they make oil, don't use it for Shabbos. It's not high quality. Now, Amar Rabba Bar Chana. Rabba Bar Chana, if you remember from Baba Basra, is the person who always tells us all kinds of very fascinating agaditas about faraway countries and about the sea and about the space, outer space. Yeah. Amar Rabba Bar Chana. Unfortunately, I know that there is a very nice pshat of the Goen to explain in depth what we're about to learn now. I saw it today, but I didn't have time enough to prepare the whole idea. So let's see. I saw, well, not the kikoin itself. I saw the type of tree which is like the same as kikoin de. You can't see kikoin de because the worm ate it up. The worm ate it up. So that's why Rashi says, look at Rashi. Rashi says, min kikoin de. I saw the type, the species, the type of tree which is the same as kikoin de. And you know what it looks like? Let's luliva dami, yeah, and it looks like sluliva. It looks like sluliva. They explain is no, oh, ilan srak. Yeah. That's a good. Ilan srak. It's a tree that doesn't have fruit. It doesn't bear any fruit. And it grows over the marshes. Bitzamaim. It grows only from the water underneath, from all kinds of marshes or like openings of water here and there. Where do they put it? They place it on the chanuyot. They locate. They usually plant that tree next to the shops to give good smell. Good smell and good and also shade. Oh, and from partzidoi, from its seeds, they make oil. Oh, that's our oil. And under the anfai, under the branches of that tree, all the sick people of Eretz Yisrael, they rest. The Goyen has the whole arichus, which I didn't get the whole thing now, unfortunately. But basically, I don't know if they mention it. I don't think they mention it in Dirshu, actually. If they do, I'd like to hear. And basically says, this talks about people who make a lot of money, but they don't share their wealth, with others. It's all about, the ilan srak. They don't have fruit. They don't learn Torah. Yeah, they have like maybe good smell or good this, but they don't have substance. I don't know, explains the oil, explains each and everything. The punchline is that the only good thing you can do with your money, which would really be good, is under the shade, the sick people of Eretz Yisrael, the sick people are the Talmid Chachamim. Talmid Chachamim are not always, Torah is Mateshet Kocha Shalodam. Most Talmid Chachamim are not exactly bodybuilders, yeah? So they're like the Brichi, and in Eretz Yisrael, that's where to support Torah. He says the rich people in Eretz Yisrael would support Torah more than in other places. So the only good thing that tree, which is the Ilan Srak, has no fruit of itself. The only good thing he can do with his money and gain his Chelek L'Olam Haba is if he allows the Talmidei Chachamim, as they do in Eretz Yisrael, to rest under its branches. Then he has the schus. But he explains each and every detail, but I don't want to say things that didn't come. Amar Rabba. Now we're done with the different types so far. So far, yeah, we've explained everything. Lo b'shem and kik. Yeah, Shem and Seifa will be mentioned later. Okay. Now, Amar Rabba. Now we're going to get to the actual point, which we mentioned so many times. Now we're going to see it inside. Finally, Sila Shamu Chachomim Ein Madlikin Ben Shabbos. Why do Chachomim say that certain wicks should not be used on Shabbos? Mipnei Sha'ur Mesachseches Behen. Because the fire is Mesachseches. Rashi brings two explanations to Mesachseches. Either Mesachseches is that it's nidach v'koifetz. It goes up and down, or that it doesn't go in, but only on the outside. In other words, either it flickers and it doesn't really burn nicely, or it doesn't really go in. It kind of like, keeps being very low and just on the outside, doesn't really catch well. It remains too small. Whatever the case may be, you're going to be so nervous, and you're going to tilt it. That's a chashash. That's a no-no situation. You're going to come to tilt, to incline, and there will be over chas v'shalom mavir on Shabbos. Now, and one second. Shmonim shomer chachamim en madlikin behen. The oils that chachamim said not to light with, they don't nimshachin. They don't kind of flow into the psila. They're not like meshicha. Yeah, they don't follow well into and being absorbed and go up the psila, right? They don't get absorbed properly inside the wick. They kind of stay outside. They never really catch well, and you'll keep tilting it in order to, yes, Matoma? No. The whole thing is not only in the Hot Shabbat, absolutely. And we mentioned it, this Mishnah, Me'ikar HaShat, is nothing to do with Dafka Shabbos candles. No. And actually, so far, we haven't seen any source that you have to light Shabbos candles. Any candle you have on Shabbos should not have that, because it may come to tilt. According to the Rambam, though, I saw it now again, what I told you yesterday. They also quote it. The Rambam Pirush Mishnah, as I told you, the Rambam says the chashash is not going to come to tilt it, the chashash is going to leave the room. And therefore, that applies more to Shabbos candles. If you leave the room, your bedroom, okay, go sleep in the chotzer, who cares? But if you're going to, let's say, have your Shabbos meal in the dark, because this on and off, this, flickering drives you crazy, you prefer eating in the dark, that's a problem of Oinig Shabbos. But most Rishonim, the mainstream opinion is the problem is not only Shabbos candles. Any candle at home, you're trying to function, and this thing goes on and off, right? Fluorescent, you can go crazy up in the whole room, right? You'll turn it off already or do something, yeah? And therefore, that's the main chashash. Now that's going to be the major question for the majority of the shir today. Abaye asked Rabba. Who was Abaye for Rabba? Abaye was the Talmid of Rabba, not Rove. Abaye asks his Rebbe, Rabba. Shmonim shavu chachomim ein madlikin ben b'Shabbos. Those oils that Chachamim said do not use them for Shabbos to light, what would be if you put a little bit of good oil and you light a mixture of good and bad together? Yeah, let's assume that it functions well. I put a little bit of, I'm a miser or I'm not so rich. Yeah, let's say. I have some olive oil, right? I have olive oil, which is nice. I'll put a little bit of olive oil, 20, 30% olive oil, together with a bad oil, with a kick, let's say, and together they'll manage. Am I allowed to do it? Or maybe maybe there should be another gzera of what? Maybe there should be a gzera of do not light with a mixture of, let's say, shem and kick and good one, lest you come to light next Shabbos with shem and kick alone. Yeah, don't use the good and bad, because the bad one should be treif, because otherwise next time you're going to use the bad one by itself. So are we or aren't we goyzer? Here came what I told you many shiurim ago, and I remember I told you, David, I'll tell you when it comes. So here the Rishonim and Tosfos and Daf Chav Daled ask, wait a second, why isn't this gzera l'gzera? Why? L'choira, it should be gzera l'gzera, because right? The whole idea of not to tilt is a gzera. I mean, not to tilt is also, not to light with the bad candles is a Rabbanan invention, Rabbanan establishment. You want to add another gzera, don't mix good and bad, maybe you'll use the bad. But even the bad one alone is Xera. So I'm quoting Toysus. You don't have to look inside. If you want to Chavdal Damad Aleph, he says, Lo choshev Xera l'Xera, Dikshe'eno mehutach bada yote. For sure he'll be matter. So I think the Toysus read, I didn't see it today, but he says, some Xeras are Xeras which are hands-on. In other words, if you're now in a situation of having a flicker a candle that really drives you up the wall, it's a matter of, it's very, very likely you're in the danger zone. It's not counted as one Xera in the Xera scheme. Yeah, it's right. If you guys are mixed of good and bad, and the bad is already situation of danger right now, it's as if it's one Xera. When do we say we will soon see Xera when both Xeras are maybe next Shabbos? Some Xeras are, you're going to eat the fruit now off the tree. Maybe next Shabbos you'll come and pick the, yeah. That's kilo a more futuristic thing. Then you say Xera. But if the Xera is immediate danger, you don't say Xera. It's as if you did it already. Now, anyway, what's the answer? What did Rabbah answer? No, you're not allowed to light with a mixture of good oil and bad oil. My timer, Abai wants to know, why not? The answer is Lefi she'ein madlikin. There are three explanations. And the one explanation is by the Aruch, because we don't. Yeah. What do you tell your 3 years old? Why do I have to pick if you're a good parent? Yeah. Why can't I have 10 ice creams? Because you can't. In other words, yeah, like that's it. We go there, then that's it. That's one shot. The goin, okay, I shouldn't start with the goin. Rashi says, Lefi she'ein madlikin means when the bad one is by itself, yeah, then they're not going to light well. Yeah, it's a real danger. It doesn't light well, they may come to tilt. That's why we're geyser. In other words, Pashut, because we're scared, you may come to light with the bad one. The answer is no. In other words, don't mix the good and the bad, because the bad one is very dangerous to have. Because next Shabbos, you will light with the bad one alone, and that's half a second away from, yeah, that's Pshat in Rashi. Yeah. No, but it's one. Only one for next Shabbos. No, the one of this Shabbos is kilo 0 in the math. No, the immediate danger is not one of the two. Of course, of course not two Xeras. But since one of the two Xeras is you may come to tilt it now, it's not counted as one. It's kilo 0. That's Pshat. So you really have one Xera only of next Shabbos, and that's it. Because the one of now is kilo, you did it already, is worth. Yeah, that's all vort. Now, the Goin says, because I saw the Goin tonight, I looked at the Sefer of the Goin. The Goin says, the fish ain't locking. You think you'll manage to have the good and bad one alone? Even that doesn't light so well. Even the mixture of good and bad is not such great shakes either. Yeah, I had a personal story with that, which I don't have time now to say. Yeah, even because especially, you know what it says? It says you put shemen kol shehu. The minority is the good oil. Maybe if you put a lot of good oil, that would be good. But if you have 30, 40% of the good one and 60 of the bad one, who told you that's going to light? So anyhow, it's also, that's according to the Goin. Now, Asive. But Bekitzer, let's just stay with Pashat Chat. Let's be simple. To mix, what did Rabbah Paskin? Who's a Rabbah? And a Moira. Rabbah is an Moira Paskin. Do not mix the good and the bad together. Right? Finished. Okay? Don't use the Shemen kick, let's say, together with the Shemen Zeiss. No. Asive. Now we're going to have a ganze question on Rabbah. And the question is from a Brisa. It says in the Brisa, now the Brisa is going to talk about mixing different types of psilois, of wicks. Korach dover shemadlikin boy, agav dover she'ein madlikin boy. Then halacha is ein madlikin boy, which means, let's say you took two different types of psilois. One psila is the perfect psila, a very refined, good, smooth, nice flax, very flammable. And you mixed it together with a bad psila, with the inside of the willow tree, let's say. And you mixed and you twisted them together, in madlikin boy. So Tanakama also says, like Rabbah, that mixing good and bad, faith. Okay. However, in the same brisa, Omar Abshim Gamliel argues and says, Shavais Abba, he quotes his noble family, the Yichuzdika family of Abshim Gamliel, the Nesim, how you korchin psila al gabe egoiz umadlikin. Very interesting. In my family, we would do that. What exactly did they do? They would somehow twist. We're going to see how the psila with the peel, yeah, with like the not the peel, with the peel of a nut. How do you call the peel? The hard peel. The shell. Thank you. Thank you. With a shell. Thanks. With a shell of the egois, with the shell of the nut, and they would light it together. The shell of the nut doesn't light very nicely, but they would mix the shell of the nut together with a good wick, and they would light it. Yes, they would light it together. So tani mias madlikin. You see, according to Shimon Gamliel, they would mix the good and the bad together. Oh, and that's wrong. You see, according to your Rabbah, how do you argue on Rav Shimon Gamliel? Rav Shimon Gamliel said that it's allowed, and that's what they did. It's a question on Rabbah. Obviously, something here is very, very wrong. Frek the Gemara, Omer Lei. So now Rabbah is responding to Abaye. What? You're asking me, claiming that I'm against one opinion versus Bag? You should support me from Tanakama. Tanakama, which is the majority, which is the mainstream, which is most people, Tanakama says you're not allowed to mix the two. You're asking me from a minority opinion? On the contrary, this Brisa supports me. The majority is like me. Rashbag was just Das Yochid, just one family. So you're asking, I'm wrong because I don't follow the minority? I'm right because I follow the majority. I follow Tanakama. Zog Degmar Holokasha. No, that's not difficult. Maiserav. Oh, here's a very, very choshev concept in halacha. In other words, yeah, whenever there are many different ways to pass in Mishnayos. I was very biased now. I said majority, and it's true. You go by the road, not always. Halacha Rabbi Kiva Mechaveiro, Rabbi Yossi Mechaveiro. And when you don't, depends on the Tana. There are all kinds of ways to pass in a Mishnah. Look up Eruvin Menvov Amud Beis. And here we have a new concept called, I'm not saying it's new, but I'm saying it's Maiserav. Maiserav means what? When a Tana quotes, not only doesn't just voices his opinion, but he says, in my family, that's what we do. Then we say halacha is like him. Why? Because he can have in a besmedrash a lot of opinions flying around. But if you see two choshev rabbanim, and one of them actually follows his opinion la halacha in his own home, and he's a Yerushalayim person, Maiserav, they didn't write it in a pamphlet, and I don't know why, but Maiserav is always lekula. If you have an opinion that's lenient, yeah, and they follow the leniency in their own homes of tzaddikim like Rashbag, that means that's halacha and we follow them. And you see it in many other places in Shas, also later on in Shabbos. Yeah, that's a rule. It's lekula, I saw it for sure. And therefore, halacha is a Rashbag. And that's why Rabbah is in trouble deep. Why? Because our Mishnah does follow Rashbag. Halacha should be like Rashbag. Because Maiserav, they followed their own teachings, and they did mix the egois with the psila, and you, Rabbah, you're saying it's not allowed. Yeah, so Rabbah is wrong, l'choira. We call him kasha, it's difficult. Zog the Gemara, my love, lehadlik, l'choira. Is it that in Rashbag's house, they would actually light together as you said, the shell of the nut with the wick, they mixed them and they twisted them and they lit them together, and that was allowed, unlike what Rabbah said? Loi lehakpois. No. Guys, shall I run a survey? Lehakpois. How do you prepare your Shabbos candles for your wife? I take the wick holder. I don't know how you have. I have a floating wick. Yeah, that's egos. Egos with a floating wick. Yeah, I have a floating wick. Looks like around this. No? And you put the psila inside, right? And then it floats. Tzaf, til tzaf. It floats over the oil. That was the egois. The egois wasn't something that they lit together. They only lit the good one, the amazing, beautiful pishtan, the good. The egois was just a way to support it. There are different explanations in the Rishonim, but basically the ideas were just to support it, but they didn't light it. Okay. Mimela, Rabbah is right. Rabbah is right. You're not allowed to mix the good and the bad. Elamai, here it's not a mixture. They only use the good wick, right? Elamai, they had the egois to support it. But now the question comes, wait a second. My time with the Tanakama. If it's so good, too good to be truth, why is Tanakama opposing it? What's wrong? If all they're doing is just using the egois as a technical support, and he's only lighting the actual wick, right? Why is Tanakama saying that's not allowed, right? It should be okay. Why is there an argument? You're not allowed to use floating wick? I'm in trouble. Answers the Gemara, Kul Rashbagi. Really, this entire brisa follows the opinion of Rashbag. Rashbag is the Tana of the Mishnah through and through. The Chisur Mechser V'Achiktani. This brisa is missing a few lines, a few words, and this is the way you should now read it. We're rewriting the brisa, we're re-editing the brisa, and we're going to read the brisa in its new shiny form, correct form. Korach dover shemadlikin boy, al gav dover shemadlikin boy. If you really twisted and you twisted and you intertwined the good wick with the bad wick, ain madlikin boy. And this is exactly like Rabbah, and that's exactly like all the Tanoim. And everyone agrees you're not allowed to mix the good and the bad and light them together. Here comes the missing words. You know when that is true? When you light both together. But in order, if you just want to make it kafui, to make it float nicely, it's allowed. What's a chashash? We're not concerned that maybe it looks like a mixture of good and bad. We're not concerned about that. If it's only lahakpois, we didn't go that far. We say lahakpois is okay, and we don't say it looks like it's a mixture of good and bad. Maybe you will light the egois. We don't say that. And I would bring a proof to that last point. All very good. Perfect. Yeah. That's now the punchline. Abshim Gamliel says, you know what? In my own heilige Zayda house, Abshim Gamliel, in our family of Nisim, we always lit the Shabbos candles with an egois, meaning on top of an egois, and that's good. And nobody was concerned. Maybe you'll come to mix or get confused. As long as it's just the holder, it's fine. If it's mixed as lighting wick, then it's also. So Rabbi is right. You're not allowed to mix. So let's summarize for a second. Let's pause. It's very, very easy. You're not allowed to mix good and bad oils together. You're not allowed to mix and really light together, like twist together, the bad and good wicks. No, that's not allowed. Finished. You can use it as a holder. Finished. Not allowed. Gemara. Frekt the Gemara. Now the Gemara is asking, Eini, is that so? Oh. Now we have another challenge. The Omar of Bruna Omar Rav. Rav Bruna on behalf of Rav says the following. Chelev mehutach. Chelev mehutach means, it's chelev. Chelev, I always imagine like a yellow kind of, first of all, it's treif, but besides that, chelev could also be shuman, which is kosher. I mean, it's not about kashrus here, Chelev mehutach. Chelev, when it's not mehutach, is like jelly, is like gala, right? It's like fat. You can't light it well. But if the chelev is mehutach means that it's been cooked and now it's already hot and runny. The chelev in its runny form, because you heated it before, so now it flows nicely. The karve dogim shenimoichu. The kishkes, of the fish, are fat. You have the natural fat of the fish. Now, the natural fat of the fish, you can't light nicely. But nimoichu, you crushed them. You crushed them and made them very runny, very liquidy. So now, they are still possible, although they light nicely, but you're not allowed to use them as Shabbos oils because they don't light well. But and yet we see that although them by themselves, although they are diluted, although they are in the you're not allowed to use the chelev mutach and karbidogim. They're not allowed to be used, right? And now we see that you're allowed to take some olive oil, good oil, mix them and light together. That's against Rabbah. We took bad oil, the kishke, the gala, and we added some good oil and we light. That's black and white against what Rabbah said, right? And against what we said in the Brisa. Answers the Gemara, no. Hani mimshechi beinayu, v'hani lo mimshechi beinayu, which means those mimshechi beinayu, as I told you, the chelev once heated, or the kishke of the fish once crushed, they're mimshechi very nicely. They really work very well. They do light nicely because I processed them and I made them much more fire friendly and oil friendly, the good oils. The honey, as opposed to the real bad oils of the Mishnah that don't function at all. If they run nicely, so what's the problem? Why can't you use them? The gozru rabbanan al chelev mehutach משום חלב שאינו מהותך, על קרבי דוגים שנימויכו, משום קרבי דוגים שלא נימויכו. That's pshat. In other words, those animal fats that have been processed, their first cousin are the same thing, the fat of the animal or the fat of the fish, unprocessed. They made xera. Don't use, let's pick on karvidogim. Don't take the fat kishket of the fish, crush, and use them. Because next Shabbos, and I'm stressing because I know the next move of the Gemara, next Shabbos, you won't have time. It's a short Friday, winter clock. And then what will you do? You'll use the same substance of what? Of karvidogim uncrushed, raw, crude like that, and that will be terrible. That will be flickering. So since mimela, right? So these are lechatchila just xera. Even the ones that are crushed or the cheleb that's been heated is xera. It lights very nicely, but don't use it lest you'll come the bad version of it next time. What about mixing? Shenotan lesoichon shemen. Why didn't you continue the xera? Which answer did you give me? Go on with your xera. You're telling me, what are you really, let's pause a second, yeah? What are you telling me? They're really good, they're really nice, but don't use them. Maybe you'll use the bad one. And therefore you are allowed to mix them with oil. Why? Continue the xera. Why don't you make a xera? I'm reading again from the third wide line. Let us geyser again. You should also be geyser those animal fats that are good. If you mix shemen with them, good oil. Yeah. Every bad oil in the Mishnah, what did we say? Just like you can't use it by itself, right? You can't use it with oil mixed together. So same thing over here. You have that kishka of the fish crushed. You're not allowed to use it. Okay. So are you allowed to mix oil with it? We just said you're not allowed to mix oil with bad ones. So what's the difference? Here comes the one. Now we hit the nail on the head. Next week, Gzera with another next week, Gzera. Which means everything will be summarized now. We have two Gzeras here that are far apart. Yeah, let's start from the beginning. To use the really bad, there are three levels here. Okay, let's start, and we won't continue even to the next piece because I want you guys to understand this. It's really easy and very, very nice. I wish I had the whiteboard, it would be even better, but it's even easier without that. If you have kishka from the fish, it's very oily, very fatty, but if you put a wick in it, it won't do the job. That's really bad. Technically, physically bad. Every guy can see that it flickers. That's for sure treif, terrible to use in Shabbos. Now, Gzera number one, yeah, so you can't use it, that's a Gzera. Maybe you'll come to tilt it. But that's an immediate Gzera. If you use that on Shabbos, mister, at some point you're going to go crazy up the wall, you'll tilt it. And then it came with a second Gzera. What's the other Gzera? You think you're smart. You want to crush it, you want to heat it, you want to develop it, process it. So now it's nice and runny and good and oily. Don't do that. Because if this Shabbos, Parshas Tzav, using the good crushed one, next Shabbos, you'll use the horrible Kishke one. Yeah? Now, let's make another Gzera. Maybe now, you know what I'll do? Let me mix the oil, good olive oil, together with the crushed Kishkes. That's allowed. Why is that allowed? Because that's Gzera L'Gzera. That's Gzera L'Gzera. You want to say that I should be geyser, not to use the mixture of good olive oil with the crushed kishkes. Why? That's two next weeks. Maybe next week I'll come to use without the good oil, and then I'll have the crushed kishke. And crushed kishke will make me use the following week what? The crude, the raw kishkes. That's already Gzera L'Gzera. Adkan, don't be super frum. And therefore, let's summarize. Normally, when it's really, really bad oil, you're not allowed to mix it with the good oil. Maybe you'll forget the good oil, use only the bad one. But if the bad oil is not really bad, it's only Gzera Atu, another version of itself, then you're allowed to mix the oil together with it, the good oil, because that's already Xera. That's already too far. Okay, we didn't get to the next piece, but Bezos Hashem tomorrow. Hatzlacha uvracha, thank you very much. May we see the light of the Shabbos in the whole of Klal Yisrael. Thank you very much. Hatzlacha uvracha. Thank you to our participants on YouTube, if there are any of them.